someone on the dial that makes you stop on that dial. They want you on that screen to say things in an exciting way, in a controversial way, in a colorful way, in a charismatic way, in a passionate way that makes somebody stop the dial so their ratings go up. That's what I do. No matter what I talk about, I try and find a funny example or a funny story or a colorful story to tell. I'm known for going on TV all the time now and talking about how in my state of Nevada we have legalized prostitution, and the most famous legal brothel is the Mustang Ranch. It made $100 million until the guy cheated on his taxes and the IRS took it over. And then they put it into bankruptcy in 1 year. And I always say, if you can't run a house of ill repute, you ain't going to touch my health care. If you can't make money in a whorehouse, you ain't touching my health care. So, that story gets through to people. They get it. They realize what bumbling idiots there are in government. So my only answer to you is, the media will book you if you have interesting stories to tell, and if you have a good background, and you're credible, and you always show up looking like $1 million, because that's part of sales. Before you ever become a millionaire, you got to look like a millionaire. And before you become a president, you better look like a president. And I think that those are things that are very important. And I know it's significant because my wife says she doesn't notice it, but 10 times a week I get stopped on the street by people who say, "Did anyone ever tell you look like former President Bill Clinton?" I actually went to a wedding in Las Vegas, and I was so embarrassed. I showed up as my buddy, and he had an Elvis impersonator marrying him. And I walked in the room, and the Elvis impersonator looks at me, does a double take, and then walks towards me and says, "Did he hire a Clinton impersonator?" So I would say it's a step in the right direction when your presidential candidate already looks like a president who people actually like. I think that's a good thing. I'm glad I don't look like George Bush. Yeah. Or Barack Obama. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about running for Senate against Harry Reid?
I get emails 50 times a week. 50, no exaggeration, a week. And every one of them says, "Would you run as a Republican, please, Wayne?"
He forwards those to me.
Yeah, I forward them all out. I was keeping stock of all my building an email database for in the last year, probably 5,000 people have emailed me. Most of them have said, "I saw you on Fox, I saw you on this, I saw you on that, and I like you, and I want you to, I will vote for you in 2012, but would you first run against Harry Reid?" That's almost the same thing everybody says. Timing is everything in life. I don't have time to run against Harry Reid. I could beat Harry Reid tomorrow, but you know what I have to do? Raise $20 million. I'd have to give up my career, stop worrying about my business, my family of 6, and ride around the state in a Root for America bus or Root for Nevada bus, right? And give up the next year of my life and stop at every town and shake every hand and kiss every baby. And I'd love to do it, except we're in a depression and I own several small businesses and I'm trying to keep them all alive. And so I can't. The timing wasn't right. If it was 2 years from now, I probably would do it. But the timing just wasn't right. And that's why when people ask, why don't more small businessmen like you run for office? It's because we own a small business, and it's hard to find the time to run for political office. So the people who run again and again are people, I like to say, who are either Lucky Sperm Club members, they got $20 million in the bank from their daddy and they never worked in their lives, or incredibly super rich like Mitt Romney. If you have $300 million, I guess you could take off a year. Or they're incredibly average and they actually need the $170,000 U.S. Congress salary. That's the group who runs, or they work for government. Let me give you an example. Scott Brown, everyone's a new Tea Party hero from Massachusetts. What nobody mentions is, and in general, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I kind of like Scott Brown. We'll see how he does. I'm suspicious of him that he's going to wind up being just like a George Bush. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But the reason he was able to win is he spent the last year of his life stopping at every single town in Massachusetts and campaigning hard. And he's a good-looking guy and a good campaigner and a smart guy. He really did a great job. But the reason he had the time to do that is he works for government. He's a state senator. And so only in government would someone pay you $100,000 a year to be a state senator while you don't do the job while you're campaigning for another job. Sorry, but I own a business and no one's paying me to campaign for another job while they pay me, and I got to pay my mortgage. That's the reason I didn't run against Harry Reid. Because I think I would have beaten him. I really do. I think I could have been a giant slayer. But the question is, could you beat him as a third-party candidate, or would I have to switch to the Republican Party to actually have a real shot at beating him? I don't see the point. People ask me, well, you're running for national chair. Will you also run for president in 2012? Let me give you an honest answer. I don't think so. Okay? I think that this party right now is too disorganized to ever do well in a presidential election. And I don't think until I can get elected chairman and build it and organize it and be CEO of this party for a few years, I don't think it's worth it running for president or senator or anything else. You'll get 1% of the vote. I want to seriously run for president after I've been national chair in 2016. after I've built this party and we really are structured and organized, and I have a chance to actually get 5, 10, 15 million votes, and if luck happens and we catch fire and catch lightning in a bottle, maybe even win. That's my current game plan. I predicted Scott Brown would win Massachusetts 2 weeks before he won. And I predicted that New Jersey and Virginia would go Republican. And I believe in 2010 the Republican Party is going to take both the House and the United States Senate and take over the whole Congress. Now, I say on radio, after I say that, I don't know that that's a good thing. Because when Republicans have power, they tend to act just like Democrats. So I don't know it's a good thing, but here's the one good thing that will come of it. I believe very strongly the only way to save America is gridlock. If they can't do anything, that's better for us. So if Republicans win and Obama's president, then you've got gridlock and you can't do any further damage to the United States of America, and neither can the Republicans. And that could be a good thing. That's where my odds-making skills come in. But I really do believe Republicans are about to sweep, and I think that's sad, because it should be us who sweep it. We called all this. We're the ones who said this would happen. How many of you have seen online the video of my good friend Peter Schiff talking in a highlight tape on 20 different business shows on CNBC and Fox News and Fox Business about the fact that the sky was falling, the subprime would go bankrupt, the house market would go bankrupt, stock market would go bankrupt, and the economy would collapse. He did all that in 2006, 2007, 2008, when no one had a clue it was about to happen. Right. And he's sitting on TV next to the brightest economists in the world. People like Larry Kudlow and Jim Cramer, and they're laughing at him. They're telling him he's a joke and he's an idiot. The market's flying, real estate's flying. What kind of an idiot would say something like that? But here's the sad thing, ladies and gentlemen. So he called it all right, and now he's on TV. He's running for U.S. Senate as a Republican, or a Ron Paul Republican, which is good, in Connecticut. And I think he'd do good, and I've already donated to his campaign. I think he's a great guy. But here's the sad thing. He's actually on TV less now than he was back then. Because first, they had him on TV because they thought he was entertaining, because he was saying something so different than everyone else. Now that he's turned out to be right, he's on TV less because they think he depresses people. They think he depresses them, tells them about that economic collapse. That's what I believe too. And I got to tell you, my business is doing really well, and I'm doing really well right now, and yet I can't sleep at night. I'm nauseous. I believe we're headed for a disaster. I believe Greece is about to be the first canary in the coal mine that takes down the entire EU, which is our biggest trading partner.
Second canary. Iceland was the first.
Well, yeah, but Iceland doesn't count as a country, does it? If I was there now, I'd say, I can see Iceland through my window. but Greece really is the first serious country that is going to be a sign of what's to come. And I believe the United States is just like Greece in a much bigger way. We have spent too much. We have too many government employees. Government is too big, too many bailouts, too many economic stimulus. It's a disaster. And I think we're headed for a disaster. And here's a guy who's doing really well in business who can't sleep at night because I don't think tomorrow is going to be an American economy anymore. It may be tomorrow, it may be next week, it may be a year from now. But I'm telling you, the other boot is going to fall. And it scares the hell out of me. And just so you know, I've sold pretty much everything I own in the whole world in the stock market. And I bought gold. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm telling you, the only place to turn right now is gold. And that's where I've been turning, because I think gold is headed for 10 or 15,000. I think the American dollar is headed for 0. And I think the stock market's headed for somewhere south of 3,000. So I see bad times coming, and I'm scared. And I hope you're all finding ways to get prepared like I am, because this is actually, again, with my positive way of thinking, this could be the greatest opportunity of all time. This will be the greatest wealth transfer of all time. Someone's going to lose a lot of money. That'll be most of America, the masses. But someone's going to get that money. Money doesn't disappear. Some people gain, some people lose. How many of you know that the single greatest period of self-made millionaires in the history of the world was during the Great Depression? That's the greatest moment of opportunity. When times are bad, some people are going to succeed. So I guess it all comes down to an old joke I once heard that is what I believe in life. 2 shoe salesmen are sent by their respective companies to sub-Saharan Africa. They get off the plane, they look around, everybody's naked. They have no clothes and no shoes. And one guy immediately calls home and says, "Turn the plane around. There are no customers. No one wears shoes." And the other guy calls his home base and he says, "Empty the warehouse, get me every shoe you got. There's nothing but customers here." That's the way I think. And that's the way we have to think. We've got to be positive. There's a silver lining. The disaster is going to lead to a recognition that we were right and that we have the answers. Thank you.